Neji was already worn out and trying to reduce the feeling of stupidity in himself, so when Naruto suddenly disappeared from in front of him, he was caught unaware. Naruto grinned as a solid kick connected to Neji's left shoulder, sending him flying away from him for the second time in the fight. He twisted and landed on his feet, but was given no time to recover as he engaged the Uzumaki in taijutsu yet again. He activated his Byakugan this time, watching out for Naruto's no doubt Katon chakra enhanced hand strikes. But for some reason, Uzumaki's hands were lacking the chakra that was making them heated, so Neji jumped at the opportunity to block rather than dodge, all the while trying to find an opening. He also deactivated his eyes to conserve chakra. He would endure the punishing force for a short while. Maybe he should taunt him a bit. "You're not fighting with your chakra-coated strikes as you were doing before, Uzumaki." He smirked as he saw Naruto narrowing his eyes. "It seems this is where fate draws the line for you using that technique." He was shocked, however, when Naruto instead of getting enraged like he wanted, snorted out loud. In a surprising maneuver, Naruto locked himself with Neji, holding him in place. As much as Neji tried, he would only move if he managed to overpower him. "Yeah, not happening." Neji grunted as he tried to get out of the lock Uzumaki had put him in, but as much as he struggled, he could not move the limbs of the blonde. His face twisted in a snarl and he locked eyes with Naruto, who had a neutral expression on his face. Whatever he was going to say was thrown out of the window at the blonde's words. "Only a pansy like you would call misdirection as an act of fate." He saw it, but could do absolutely nothing to stop it. Wind style, Gale Palm. A clone who had appeared beside them without any hand seals, which caused a gas to resonate through the shinobi part of the crowd, had enough compressed air in his hands to cleanly blow Neji away almost 20 meters. Naruto released him from the lock at the very last second. While the force was enough to send him flying, it lacked the damaging component. But instead of feeling relief, Neji only felt dread. He had a feeling that Uzumaki had planned something much worse for him. Unlike the previous times, Neji failed to add grace to his landing and as such rolled toughly onto the ground. Remembering that Uzumaki would not likely give him time to recover, he quickly got up to his feet, just in time to see 4 shuriken converging on him with deadly accuracy. He jumped to the side to avoid them, but was surprised by the blonde yet again. So he decided to switch to long distance attack. "This is good for me, for I might be able to use this window to recover a bit." But that thought was thrown out of the window in the next moment. Naruto predicted in a split second where Neji would land after he avoided those shurikens, so he had cleverly threw 3 kunai wrapped with explosive tags of his own design to that spot. Neji grit his teeth as the kunai came closer and closer. "It seems I'll have to use that." Naruto watched as the kunai almost hit Neji. His eyebrows raised in surprise when Neji suddenly spun, so fast that he wasn't even visible anymore, and was covered in a dome of his own chakra. "Hakesho Kaiten!" Naruto activated his exploding tags just as they reached Neji, and watched with a mix of curiosity and fascination that the dome of chakra spinning around Neji completely protected him from the resulting explosion. Stands. Hinabi turned to her father. "Tasu-sama, isn't that—" "Yes," Hayashi replied instantly. His own eyes were narrowed as he clenched his fist. "Kaiten is supposed to be the technique of the main house. How does Neji, a member of the branch house, know it so well?" Arena. Neji stopped spinning and couldn't really hide the smugness from his voice as he saw the expression on Naruto's face. He could gloat later. Right now, he would capitalize on this small window of opportunity. No need to use the Byakugan, for he knew exactly where to strike. Naruto had immediately created 5 clones to scope out Neji's new technique and find a weakness, but his opponent's words momentarily gave him a pause. "You're now in the field of my division." Devastation. Why does it say divination? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's devastation. Neji ominously announced. Not wanting to give Neji the chance of using this technique, 2 of them shot forward to engage him, but this time Neji was ready, his hands moving a blur. 2 palms, 2 clones gone. 4 palms, another 2. 8 palms, the last one tried to shield himself. Futile effort, even if you have no tenketsu, the physical damage from the strikes alone will send you down. 16 palms, Naruto grunted as the hand slammed into him with considerable speed. 32 palms, 64 palms. Naruto skid back as Neji finished his technique, breathing heavily. Because he chose to keep his Byakugan deactivated for the majority of the fight, he had more than enough chakra to keep going on. It was easy to ignore the physical pain when you trained with people such as Guy Sensei. Naruto had blood dripping from his mouth. He went down on one knee, drawing gas from the crowd. This was the first time he had taken any damage in this fight, and it was enough to send him on one knee. Looking at Neji, he asked in obvious pain, "I assume you were going for physical damage if you couldn't find my tenketsu, weren't you?" Neji felt a sense of superiority as he looked down on Naruto. No one remained in fighting condition after getting hit by the 8 trigrams 64 palms technique. "You assumed correctly. While you were formidable for some time, this is where this ends, Uzumaki. I told you before, fate has declared that I will win today." Kage Box. Orochimaru smiles under the veil. Most formidable technique of the Hyuga clan, Hokage Dono. I wonder if this is the end for the young Uzumaki. Hiruzen smiled as he wrote something down on the notepad. "Don't worry, Kazekage Dono. Naruto won't go down this easily." Stands. The Jonin had confused looks on their faces. Why did Neji do that? Couldn't he see it? Guy was rubbing his chin. I don't know what Neji was thinking when he did that, but it clearly didn't work the way he might have expected. While the news that Naruto didn't have a chakra network was quite staggering, they wanted to see how Neji would work his way around it. The Genin, on the other hand, were different parts, worried and resigned. Kiba, Hinata, Sakura, and Ino wore worried looks as they looked at Naruto. "Naruto-kun," Hinata whispered in a worry, knowing just how formidable the technique that Neji had used was. Even if Neji didn't have tenketsu to strike, the muscles that were struck would suffer considerable damage. "What a technique," Ino whispered in awe as she looked at the kneeling form of Naruto. Naruto had completely dominated the fight from the beginning, but Neji had seemingly turned the tables with just one move. "Get up, Naruto!" Sakura was chanting in her mind, restraining from saying it out loud. Tenten, on the other hand, just shook her head as if she already knew this was gonna happen. "Well, you were good, Naruto. There is no way you can recover from this." Arena. Naruto, despite being in pain, chuckled. Neji rose an eyebrow. "What's so funny?" Naruto looked up with mirth swimming in his eyes. "And I told you, fate is very fragile." And he burst into smoke. Cheers erupted from the crowd as it was revealed that Uzumaki had pulled a fast one on everyone, including Neji. The said Genin cursed as he activated his Byakugan and looked around. He almost gaped when he found out where Naruto was, but wasn't able to react in time. Naruto burst from the ground behind him, a predatory grin on his face and body already in motion. Neji was able to angle his body so that his left shoulder took the hit instead of his head, but he winced as the already abused shoulder took another hit. He was sent toppling away. Naruto brushed off some of the dirt as Neji let out a small groan of pain and frustration, standing up. "Most people don't think to look down at the last second, am I right?" Neji said nothing as he gazed scornfully at the smirking blonde. "You made the mistake of deactivating your eyes. If you hadn't, you might have noticed that I substituted with my clone at the last second. Your mistake also allowed me to hide without worry under the ground. Pretty good for misdirection and deception, don't you think?" Neji grit his teeth. "Even if you had substituted with your clone, a shadow clone gets dispelled after one hit." Naruto made a sound of mock realization. "Oh, that. I reinforced it with chakra. It's really not that difficult." He then smirked in a way that sent shivers down Neji's spine. "I've somewhat heard about your defensive technique. The ultimate defense of the Hyuga, isn't it?" Neji said nothing, which was more than enough for an answer. Holding up for a shuriken, he challenged. "Let's test that so-called ultimate defense, shall we?" Your Genin is very ingenious, Hokage Dono." Hiruzen nodded, pride coursing through him at how well Naruto was handling himself. So far, Naruto had demonstrated skill that were already above the qualification level of Chunin. He wondered just how Naruto planned to break the ultimate defense of the Hyuga. Stance. Kiba, Ino, and Sakura shouted in glee when Naruto had popped the real Naruto, kicking Neji away. Hinata had quietly cheered for Naruto, while Tenten was in a state of disbelief. While even Lee couldn't get up after Neji's technique, it was a whole nother thing to avoid it successfully altogether. The shuriken whizzed towards Arena. The shuriken whizzed towards Neji, who jumped to the side to avoid them, opting to conserve chakra. He was stupefied, however, when he spotted a giant ball of fire making its way towards him, fast. Having no time to jump again, he was forced to resort to his defense. Kaiten! Neji reached his maximum rotation speed just as the fireball reached him. The fireball crashed into the spinning dome of chakra, taking only 5 seconds to disperse, which was 4 seconds too late for Neji. It was hard to accurately keep track of your surroundings when you're spinning at a really high speed. So one moment Neji was inside the dome, the other moment Naruto was inside it with him. Wait, what? This time Neji didn't have time to be fully surprised as he was punched in the face hard. The sudden application of an external force disturbed the Kaiten, and Neji was bodily thrown through the fireball. I'm really getting tired of being thrown like that, Neji lamented as he stood up once again, a bit burnt from going through the fireball. Stands. Asuma and Kurenai were gawking at the way Naruto broke the defensive technique. One moment he was standing outside the dome, the other moment they all saw him disappear and appearing instantly inside the dome in a blue flash. Hiraishin, Guy whispered in awe. Even he had not found a way yet to break the defensive technique. But if the Hiraishin could surpass defense with such amount of ease, it really was terrifying technique. No wonder the Yondaime was so feared. Kage Box. I really have no more words to describe how impressive that genin of yours is, Hokage Dono. To learn and master the Yondaime's most feared technique at such a young age is no small feat, Kazekage complimented. Hiruzen smirked and nodded. That was a masterful use of the Hiraishin. Naruto must have marked Neji at the very first opportunity. Also, to be capable of using two external natures is very impressive, Orochimaru complimented. Hiruzen accepted the compliment on behalf of Naruto with a nod and smirk. Arena. Neji breathed heavily as he gazed at Naruto. He was down to just a quarter of his chakra reserves, while Naruto had yet to show any signs of fatigue. What he didn't know that Naruto's chakra reserves were so much larger that he had only used a small drop of the entirety yet. How did I break your defense? Naruto helpfully finished it for him. When he saw him nod, he sighed. While I did say before that only idiots reveal their techniques, it's no big secret as to the way I appeared inside with you. Reaching behind him, he pulled out his Hiraishin kunai, dangling it in his index fingers. I'm sure you know what this is. He looked around, discreetly seeing that he had captured the attention of the entire audience. This is a kunai that was once used by my father, Namikaze Minato. Mutters rose in the crowd in response to the confirmation of their thoughts from before, but quickly silenced when Naruto continued. The Hiraishin no Jutsu is a space-time technique, a combination of ninjutsu and funjutsu. Basically, this formula here, he showed him his imprinted formula, acts as a beacon for me. Whenever this formula is, I can teleport there without any problem. That means the reason I was able to get in there is because you already have a mark on you. Neji had never widened his eyes this much in his entire life. He desperately reached for the place where Naruto had placed his formula and found it beneath his forearm. Never before had he been so outclassed in a fight. How had he failed to notice such a simple thing? Naruto spun the kunai, catching it in a reverse grip. The look on his face was almost as if set in stone. It was the same look the yellow flash gave to his enemies before killing them. I could have ended the fight the moment we engaged in taijutsu. In another scenario, if you would have been my enemy and not a comrade, you were dead the moment I put this mark on you. Silence rang in the entire stadium as the cold truth of the words hit each person. It was only now that they realized just how truly dangerous and lethal the Yondaime's use of this jutsu was. It was basically as if you were marked by death. If you had this mark, there was no escape for you. Then why didn't you? Naruto raised an eyebrow and put the kunai back in his pouch. Tell me something, Neji. Why do you believe in fate so much? What gives you the excuse to claim that everything is fated to be? Neji looked surprised for a moment, but then his eyes hardened. He reached for his headband and removed it. Because of this, he said, pointing to a green seal on his forehead. It was a cross in the middle, with hooks on either side of the cross. The bird cage seal is given to branch house members of the Hyuga clan by the main house members. While it may seem that both of the houses are family, it is a lie. The cold reality is that the branch house members only act as servants to the main house, he explained. Naruto didn't attack him when Neji closed his eyes, instead opting to hear his story out. The seal is given to the branch house members to protect our prized bloodline from falling into our enemy's hands. After the death of a house member, the seal activates and seals the abilities of the Byakugan. By that I mean this seal binds us all until death, a destiny from which we cannot escape. Neji told them about the Hyuga incident which happened 8 years ago. How Hinata was almost kidnapped by the ambassador from Kumagakure no Sato. How the village had demanded the death of Hiyashi Hyuga as compensation. How his father was offered instead. To the end of the explanation, Naruto did not allow one speck of emotion to show on his face. When Neji was finished, then Naruto spoke. You speak that it is fate that branch family will always remain bound. Yet, you contradicted your own belief when you tried to kill Hinata in the preliminaries. You tried to divert from your predestined path. All of this because you hold a grudge against the main family. Neji finally lost control of himself. My father was taken away from me because Hayashi-sama couldn't take the responsibility for his actions. My father had to give his own life just so Hayashi-sama could keep on living. Naruto said nothing for a while. Neji thought he had got through the blonde, but was shell-shocked when he heard Naruto's next words. I already planned on winning today, but I'll say it just for you. I won't be losing to a coward who is always blaming all of his problems on some nonsense such as fate. Someone as ignorant as you is in no position to lecture me, Neji shot back. You can never understand what it's like to be burdened with a symbol you can never be rid of. There was a pin-drop silence in the whole stadium. The whole audience felt the impact of the words. Neji couldn't have been more wrong. The senior shinobi feared Naruto would lose it, even the Hokage, but thankfully Naruto kept a tight lid on his emotions. It wouldn't do losing it in the center of a crowd. Naruto sighed wistfully, whispering, You're wrong. I know exactly how it feels. But enough talk, he finished in a strong voice. He made a ram seal, and Neji felt that it was better to be cautious rather than just wait and see what happens. Immediately he jumped back, or tried to anyway. It wasn't as if he was paralyzed, but it felt like his body was stuck in mud, just as you have to struggle to move your limbs when drowned in water or mud. Neji had to struggle to move his arms. It was as if he was stuck in clay. What the hell is this? Naruto was calmly walking forwards. Now that he had successfully activated his resistant seals, while normally used for training, it's somewhat unusual to apply it in combat. You're currently experiencing a level 3 resistance. Funjutsu is perhaps the most versatile art of the shinobi. Won't you agree? Kage Box. Your getting is full of surprises, Hokage Dono. To make use of seals so efficiently in combat with just his chakra, it's almost as if he is already an expert. Not many choose to study that particular art. Hizen chuckled and replied, Naruto is more than just skilled in Funjutsu. He is perhaps the most skilled person I've ever seen. Not surprising if you consider just who his father is. The other Kage nodded in approval. He definitely qualifies for Chunin. To think he had managed to put a Hiraishin and resistant seal on his opponent. He had been several steps ahead of his opponent right from the beginning of the match. Hiruzen absently nodded, choosing to focus on the match. Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, Funjutsu. Stands. I didn't know Naruto knew Funjutsu like that, Ino exclaimed. Sakura smiled, proud of having a teammate like Naruto. Naruto is an expert in them, you know? Kiba hollered, Yo, go Naruto! Tenten was dumbstruck just how many steps Naruto had been ahead of her teammate. The Jonin were besides themselves, and Asuma was rubbing his head. You know, he really is quite well versed in sealing for his age. Not many people can apply seals with their chakra just like that. Kunai nodded, and both of them tried to block out guys shouting of how youthful Naruto was displaying his skills. That's where I'm gonna end it, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next part. Bye!
Wanted a bitch who was on the move, but you on a goddamn late. Got that one in my bed and she just wanna sleep. Fucking up all of the sheets. She only wake up to eat. Do this shit every week. Like why you do that? Crying you wanna be great, but sleeping until the next day. Why you do that? Got that much in the bank. We go out, she